Hey y'all, hope everybody's doing all right. I wanted to hop on here real quick and talk a little bit about algorithms because I noticed a lot of people were asking about it in the Slack, and I know algorithms are by far not the easiest thing at all, especially when you're a beginner. I remember doing those, and I would cry over them sometimes. I'm not even gonna lie. So I definitely understand. Something that I just wanted to explain, like something that really helped me with them and the mindset that I use, because it's not only practice and going through them and repetition, it's also making sure you have the mindset during that repetition, because you're not really learning I don't want to say you're not really learning a skill, because you are, but you're also learning a mindset. So you're learning both. You're learning a skill and a mindset, because it's not, to be a programmer, to be a developer, you have to think like a developer. And that rewiring your brain is not an easy process at all. Trust me, it isn't. So I've done it several times. It's not easy. It gets easier, but it's not easy. That being said, you have to train your brain to think like a programmer. So that's something that my teacher in high school, which was like 8 years ago, told me, and to this day it's stuck. You have to understand how to approach an algorithm before you even start thinking about algorithms. You know what I mean? Sounds a little bit weird, but you got to understand, like, an algorithm is a problem. You're problem solving. It's a word problem, but with code. So you're going to have a problem and you're going to have a solution. So it's the in-between that you got to figure out. It's just like calculus or physics, Physics is a great example. This entity is moving at this speed, this entity is moving at this speed. What's the speed when they collide? Whatever, You have a problem, you have what you need as a solution. Now you got to use the right equation to get there. It's the same exact thing when it comes to algorithms. So what helps me with algorithms and word problems in general is identifying the problem, writing the problem down, and then writing what I need as a solution, or what I need the outcome to be. So say, for instance, I'm out of milk, right? This is something that you can, like what I'm doing right now, you can apply it to your everyday life. So it's not something that you only have to practice with code. It's something that you can practice in your everyday life, when you're walking around, when you're not even by a computer, when you're out shopping and you have a mask on, all that good stuff. You can come up with these situations in your head, and you can start to mentally train yourself to approach algorithms. So basically, if I'm out of milk and I need milk, it's the problem, right? I'm out of milk, I need milk. So now you got to figure out the in-between. You got to figure out, okay, do I have a car? Do I have a bike? Am I dressed? Am I this? Am I that? You got to ask yourself all these questions. And it's the same thing with an algorithm. You got to say, okay, this is my problem, this is my solution. Now, what do I have in my toolbox to get from one point to the end? And what helps is breaking them up into segments. Now, I'm not talking about like breaking your actual code up into segments, but I'm talking about breaking your logic up into segments. So basically, taking the problem, I'm out of milk and I need milk, and saying, okay, instead of this huge in between that could be anything, like, oh my God, maybe she has to fly to, I don't know, Wisconsin to get some milk. I'm in Texas. There's literally cattle everywhere. So, whatever. I could go down the street and milk a cow and I'll be good. That's probably the most Southern thing I've ever said. Sorry. But anyways, besides the point, there's all these in-betweens. Like, there's this wide, vast unknown in between it. And it can be scary. Let me tell you, it can be scary. But you need to understand how to manage that. And take it from this huge concept down to, okay, I get the problem. I know what I have in my toolbox, and I know what I need to solve it. Now, you can always ask questions if there's a function that's built into JavaScript or a function that's built into Java or C++ or whatever language you're using, or Python, which, let me tell you, Java and C++, there's typically no functions built in to use. You gotta program them yourself. Like math, maybe you can import a library or two, but besides the point. Anyways, besides the point, you gotta ask yourself what you have in your toolbox to get from point A to point B as simple as possible. So if you want to work backwards, if you prefer to work backwards, great, go for it. For me, I like working, I like jumping around, but for the most part, if I start in the beginning and go to the end, that's the easiest way to kind of comprehend everything for me. So like I said, have the problem. I need milk. Okay, well, the first segment of logic would be, okay, well, let's get ready. Let's program up to, or let's figure out what I need to do until I leave from my apartment, right? So, I need to get dressed. I need to brush my teeth. I need to wash my face. I need to grab my keys. I need to open the door, and I need to lock the door. Now I'm outside of my apartment. Okay, well, now we're done with that logic. We can check that off our list. We're done. So now we're outside, right? So now let's go from outside to the grocery store. So now we're outside. Let's go downstairs because I live on the second floor. Let's go downstairs. Let's unlock my car. There we go. Let's get in my car. Let's start my car. Let's put it in drive. Let's put it in drive. Put it in reverse. Let's not put it in drive. Then let's go on and put it reverse out of the parking spot. Put it in drive and drive to the store. So we're done. Now we're at the store, right? So now we're at the store. We need to go on and park. So, second part of the logic, done. So we're at the store now. So we need to find a parking space, right? So we're finding a parking space. Once we're done with finding the parking space, we need to pull into the parking space, preferably not hitting any cars. And then we need to go on and put my car in park. And then we need to turn off the car, right? So now the car is off. What's next? We get out of the car. Okay, cool. We're out of the car. After that, go into the store. So now we're in the store. From there, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? Well, we need to find the milk. So now we've found the milk. Now we need to pick our milk, right? And, all the expiration dates, all that good stuff. Whole milk, 2%, 1%, fat-free, skim. I think fat-free and skim are the same thing. I don't know. But anyways, besides the point, you got to pick it out. So you picked out your milk. Now, once we picked out the milk, we need to put it in our basket or grab it, whichever. Put it in our basket. Take it up front. So now we're up front. We need to find a cash register. We're at the cash register now. We need to go on and put the milk on the conveyor belt or hand it to the checker. Hand it to the checker and then scan it. The checker needs to scan it. Once she scanned it, she needs to total it out, ring it all, all that good stuff on her end. Now she tells us the price. So now we know the price. Now we need to pay for it, whether it's cash, card, whatever. So we gave it to the checker. Now we need to pay for it. So now we've paid for the milk. Well, now we're not quite done yet because we don't have the milk. We paid for it. We don't have it. So after we paid for it, we need to wait for our payment to go through. We need to wait for the checker to give us our receipt. Once we have our receipt, we need our milk. Once we have our milk, we're done. So we went from needing milk all the way to getting milk. And that was the in-between. We went there in 3 logic steps. So check. The last logic step is done. Check. We're done there. So applying that to code is going to help you substantially. So taking it and saying, okay, we have an array that we want some integers in. We know we need to return one integer with a sum, right? So then you got to divvy it up, right? So if you divvy it up, you want to define your variables. You want to get that array. You want to define the variable that we're going to be returning, which is sum, right? So we have that done. We know those are at least the two things that we need to start with. And what we know already is we have an array with integers in it. So, and since we know that, we can also get how long that array is, or how the length of that array, right? So once we have those variables declared, and once we identify what we have, we know what we need. We also have identified what we need. We're done. That's the first step of the logic. The next step is, okay, how do I get to the end? And this step can have plenty of steps. Like, the first step for sure is one that I always do. Like, okay, this is what I know I have. This is how I need to get, or this is what I know I have. This is what I know I can get. This is what I need to return. So what's next? So after that, it's like, okay, so we know we have an array, and we have an array with integers in it, and we need to return one integer, right? So that tells me automatically we're probably going to need a for loop or a conditional loop. And personally, I love for loops. You can use a conditional loop, but it's going to be a little bit more coding, and you kind of want to optimize your code. So that being said, you don't need, there's a simpler way to do it. You always want to keep it as simple as possible. That's another thing. Keep it as simple as possible, because the more complex you make it, the more work you make it on yourself. Trust me. Been there, done that. Hi, I'm like queen of overthinking. I'm all of that good stuff. Don't worry. Like, just, if you feel like you're working too hard, you probably are. Like, 100% honest with you. If you feel like you're working too hard to get to the next step, you probably are, and there probably is a simpler way to approach it or get to that step. So then that's when you should take a kind of deep breath, take a break, and come back to it. That's what works for me. Like I said, all of this is what works for me. Anyways, going back to our example. So the next step in that problem would be identifying the type of loop we want to use. So for loop, right? And then you would go in, I'm not going to go through the logic, but you go in and you figure out the logic. Once you're done with that logic, which it can be done in what? 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of code. That there can be done in 4 lines of code. And then after you're done with that, then you're like, okay, well, how do I return this? Well, it's simple. Return sum, or whatever variable you're putting all the values into. Return that variable. Then you're done. And I know it sounds easy, and I know I'm making it sound easy, and it's not at all. I don't want somebody to think I'm trying to minimize it, because I'm really not. But it's something that sometimes we overcomplicate it and we get too up in our heads about. And if we sit down and we take the time to divvy it up into smaller bite-sized sections, it doesn't overwhelm us, and it doesn't make us think like, oh my God, I gotta take this and I gotta go from here and I don't know how to do it, and you start stressing out. It's like, okay, well, I know, like, let me sit down, let me implement what works for me. Let me implement a method that works for me to get from point A to point B. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to do an example algorithm on a piece of paper and post it to Slack a little bit later. I have a few things I need to do within the next couple of minutes, but I hope this video helped. I really do. If you guys have any questions, if you want a one-on-one conversation, please let me know. And like I said, I know it's hard to sit here and listen to this, but I hope you took some notes. I hope you at least kind of get an idea of what I'm trying to say. And if you have any questions, any of them at all, please feel free to reach out. Like, I'm here. I will probably be up till like midnight tonight. I can't promise you I will respond up until that time, but it is 1:21 p.m. here. I'm in Texas. So that being said, if you have any questions, please feel free to DM me and I will try my best to answer them. And if you want like a one-on-one call, please let me know, because algorithms are something that honestly are a strong point for me. Like, it is a strong point. It's not always my best. Like, I know there are simpler ways to do the algorithms that I know, or the ones that I have solved, but I can at least get from point A to point B pretty easily. You know what I mean? So if you really need help with that, please let me know, because it is something that is honestly very fundamental for a programmer to understand. If you're going to be a developer, or back end, front end, anything, you need to understand algorithms. Maybe you've already been solving them and you haven't noticed, or you haven't noticed that you have a way to solve them already. And maybe I can help you identify that. But anyways, please let me know. I am here to help. I love teaching. I've always, I've taught my little sister. I have a little sister. I've always been a tutor, so please let me know. I am 100% down to hop on a call with you. Might have to give me a little bit, but I am 100% down to schedule a call and go over any questions or concerns you have. So, yeah. All right, I'm gonna stop babbling now, because I feel like I've been babbling for the past like 20 minutes. So yeah, I'll talk to y'all later. Have a great year, night, day, morning, afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. I love you, and peace. Bye.